Welcome, this is Ernest. Today we are going to go over the recommended privacy and security settings for an iPhone. We are going to go into Settings, and underneath Settings, we're going to turn off Touch ID if you have it. Put it in the old passcode. We're going to turn off Touch ID if you have it for iPhone unlock. If you want to have Apple Pay and iTunes app set up for a fingerprint, that's your choice. So what we're going to do, now that that is turned off for unlocking the iPhone, we're going to change our passcode. And 4-digit passcodes are easily defeated. Put in a long passcode, and if you want passcode options, you can put in alphanumeric, so you can put in letters, numbers, whatever you want. I'm just going to do an area code and the first 3 digits of an old phone number that I used to use. Now we're going to look at requiring a passcode when locked. So when this device is locked, again underneath Settings and Touch ID, require a passcode. You want it for at least 1 minute. Recommended is immediately if you're traveling. We're going to go down to switching off some home screen features. So if we scroll all the way down, and you see allow access when locked. My today view, I'm allowing that to be on. Now the notifications view and the Siri, again, I would not recommend having those on. Replay with messages, home control, wallet, all of those things are turned off. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to also set the settings to erase the data. If someone tries to log into this device 10 times and they're not able to, then it'll automatically erase it. So if they go next, we're going to go to setting up two-factor authentication, which again, under settings, you go underneath your username and you're going to see under password and security. You're going to see two-factor authentications turned on along with the numbers that I'm using to recover it from. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off some of the data leaking widgets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my home screen and I'm going to swipe. If you swipe from the right, you get to see your views. What is actually showing up on your home screen? Okay, I have Get Ready for Bed, which is coming up next. Then I have my weather. I have my calendar events. Now I can choose to edit these. These are where you can say, what do you really want to have on here? Well, I may not want to have my calendar on, so I'll remove that. So all I'm leaving up is what's coming up next, my very next event that I need to come to, my weather channel, and my AccuWeather. Again, that's a security risk you have to accept. Now, there's certain things that I definitely would not want on my home screen. Siri, a lot of these things on my lock screen, my favorites, Google directions, all my widgets are off. All I'm left with is my next upcoming event and my weather that's on here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the lock screen timeout. So if we go underneath settings again, and from settings, we're going to go to display and brightness. And then we're going to see auto lock after 2 minutes. So if I have not locked my screen intentionally, I've got it set for lock at least after 2 minutes. Again, the recommended if you're traveling internationally, the lower the better. And again, the recommended setting is 2 minutes or less, 1 minute is preferred. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our notifications. We're going to go up to notifications. This is where you want to look and see which ones do you want actually putting stuff up on your lock screen, badges, what do you want having, whether it's locked or unlocked. So let's just take a look at this. You're going to notice that the Bible's turned off for right now, but the AccuWeather sound badges, do I have this turned on? I even have it turned on for lock screen. I'm okay with that. I want to know when there's a weather event going on. Certain ones that I definitely do not necessarily want is my calendar. And you're going to see, when I come into here, upcoming events, it's not going to show on my lock screen. So I've got those turned off on my lock screen. Same thing with FaceTime, my messages, my mail. So let's go back to here and you're going to see, FaceTime, I am not wanting that to leave on a lock screen. And the same thing with messages and mail. I don't want messages showing up on a lock screen because then somebody can be reading my messages. So if my phone gets stolen, they can see them. So same thing with the mail. Definitely not wallet. I would definitely recommend that you come down here and that the wallet is turned off. Now I choose to have Amber and emergency alerts turned on. Now we're going to look at configuring app privacy settings. So we're going to go under settings and then we're going to go down to privacy. The first thing we're going to look at is check what apps have access to your contacts. There's certain things in here before we go into location services. Who has access to your contacts? Here's the apps that I have that have access to my contacts. I'm expecting these. If you have a camera or a flashlight app that has access to your contacts, why? So these are some of the things you might want to look at. I've got CamCard, which is for business cards, because it actually puts them right into my contacts. I'm okay with that. So these are things that you want to make sure. So definitely contacts, your photos, your Bluetooth, and your microphone and your camera are the ones that I definitely want to see who has access to my camera. So I want to make sure that I've approved all these apps that have access to my camera. And there's nothing in there that I'm not expecting. Same thing with the microphone. These are the apps I'm expecting to have access to my microphone. So these are, again, the settings you want to check first. Next thing we're going to go in underneath here is our location services. There's a lot here to look at. Now I do share my location with some family members, and the recommended setting on this when we're coming down underneath this is on the apps. I either say never. For example, the camera is set to never put the geo. Otherwise it puts, every time I take a picture, it puts the GPS coordinates of where I am when I take that picture. I choose to have that off. Almost always I say while using the app. Very few apps do I say always. So my Google Maps, my AccuWeather, I have them on almost all the time. So one of the things people don't realize is under System Services, this is another major area where you might want to look at making some changes. The only things I turn on here, I have everything off except for Emergency SOS, Find My iPhone, because I definitely want to be able to find it, Set My Time Zone. Now, Frequent Locations, I've turned it on before I started recording just so you can see what it's on. Right now, I almost always leave this off. Notice that it's already got my history because I've turned it on. I'm in Calhoun, Georgia today. So I can clear this history. Yes, I want to clear my history, and I want it turned off. Because otherwise, it's tracking you, and it's putting all that location stuff up to Apple. I prefer not to have them track me. And then routing and traffic, I turn on as well. So the only ones I have turned on, again, are Emergency SOS, Find My Phone, Set the Time Zone, and routing and traffic. And then I also make sure my status bar icon is clicked so that way if something's using it, I get a notification that they're using my location services. Now what we're going to do is we're going to limit the ad tracking and reset our identity. So we're going to go under Settings and then Privacy, and we're going to scroll down to Advertising. And first of all, you're going to see Limit Ad Tracking. I definitely want that turned on. The other thing is to reset your identifier. So I typically reset my identifier on a regular basis. And you also want to limit ad tracking. And if I click on View Identification Information, it should say that you have opted out for interest-based ad. The next thing we're going to do is switch on Find My Phone. If you misplace your phone, again, this is something that's really great. If it gets stolen, it helps you find it. So we're going to head to Settings, and we're going to go back into iCloud, and we're going to go into iCloud, and we're going to go into Find My Phone. You're going to see that it's turned on, and I've also set Send to Last Location. So that's really useful if you happen to misplace it at home or you're out and about and you accidentally drop it somewhere. Right before the battery dies, it's recognizing that the battery is critical, and it'll send you the GPS coordinates of where it's at right before the battery dies. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the Safari settings. And there are several settings inside Safari that you can do to make it more secure. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Settings, and if you scroll down, you're going to find Safari in here. And underneath Safari, first of all, your search engine. Oftentimes it'll go to DuckDuckGo, which is a more secure search engine than Google. Google will track everything that you're doing. Best practices for security is to use DuckDuckGo. Some people don't like the results they get for that, so Google is an option. Search engine suggestions, no thank you. Otherwise they're tracking everything I'm putting into search engines. Same thing with Safari suggestions, I usually leave those off. Now quick website search, that's fine, that's on. Preload my top hits, again, I'm okay with that. You might be surprised all the passwords that are being stored on here. Frequently visited sites, so it'll keep track of those. You can have your favorites. I definitely recommend blocking pop-ups, which you can see right here. So that should be on. And also do not track, which so that way you're telling them don't track me online. Now the other one is block cookies. What I recommend is allowing cookies from websites I visit. Not always allow, because then what it's doing is it's saying, well, if I always allow cookies, then it's keeping cookies even if I'm not on that website anymore. It's still allowing that cookie information and them to be able to share all the information they're gathering from other websites. So only while I'm on the website do I allow. Some websites require them. Fraudulent websites, I definitely want to try and block those. And then clear history and website data. Again, that is something that I recommend doing on a regular basis. You're clearing out your website history and your data. These are the basic recommended security settings for securing your privacy on an iPhone device. Thank you so much.